Welcome back to the Kaspa Silver YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about Marathon Mining Digital releasing their Q4 shareholder letter, which shows that they have been dumping Kaspa. So first off, right here in Q3, they announced that as of September 30th, 2024, they were holding approximately 108 million Kaspa coins on their balance sheet. And if we do the calculations that on September 30th, they had about 108 million Kaspa, this would all be valued at about 15 cents, just around that area. And so if this was the case and they dumped over 73 million Kaspa, because if we check right here, it says finally, as of December 31st, 2024, we held approximately $4.3 million or 35 million Kaspa coins on their balance sheet. This means that they sold about $10 million in Q4 of 2024. And honestly, if we're looking at the bigger picture, this is largely insignificant to the entire volume and the actual supply that is circulating for Kaspa, which is 25.77 billion Kaspa. And we can even check right now, the current volume in the last 24 hours is sitting at $72 million. So if they sold $10 million worth in the span of 4 months, it really is nothing. And this was not the large contributor as to why Kaspa has been underperforming. I mean, the whole entire market has been underperforming and going down. So Kaspa's pretty much just been following the entire market. And on top of that, I'm not sure why people are making Marathon Mining as like putting them on some pedestal and being the only reason why Kaspa is going to have a successful future. I want to point out some of the comments that people had left underneath my post here about Marathon Mining selling. This user here said miners will quit soon because it's no longer profitable. It doesn't even cover electricity costs. CAS is a dead investment in terms of mining. It was widely distributed and everyone was mining, but then they blocked it with ASICs. My response here is nothing is blocked. The game has just changed. ASIC mining is just as decentralized. You could buy a home miner that costs less than a GPU, and GPU mining is not any more profitable either. All proof of work mining right now is not that profitable. It's just not only Kaspa. And even if you look at GPU mining profitability, it is no better either. So I really don't understand the people who are GPU only miners when they want to complain about ASICs destroying a coin, but them remaining GPU mining only kind of investors are not doing any better either. There aren't really any other coins to be mining right now with a GPU that is much more profitable. And a lot of people keep wanting to claim that the mining for Kaspa is dying. I mean, every single time Kaspa has a hash rate drop, you have all these people come out and say, like, you see, it's dying, it's over. And then literally it recovers and then they're quiet again and go back to fudding other stuff about Kaspa. So honestly, if you're gonna make an assessment, please allow more time to pass before making a final assessment, because honestly, at the end of the day, you're just cherry picking whenever you're trying to make these claims. Every single time Kaspa has dropped in hash rate, it has recovered nicely. And I believe it's largely due to the fact that there are a lot of home miners for Kaspa that are, yes, not as profitable, but they don't cost as much to run. So a lot of people are willing to run them at a loss, especially like someone like myself. My miners aren't really profitable, but I'm still running them because the cost for them to keep running is really not that high at all. Chris over here said, I'm always happy when whales are selling Kaspa, much better for distribution. And this user was just simply saying that Kaspa holders are always trying to spin a positive thing on anything bad that happens with Kaspa. And Chris says, to be fair, I have consistently said since Mara started mining CAS, I hope they sell frequently for better coin spread. I'm just being consistent. And this is true, and true for myself as well. I already made a video about Marathon Mining selling Kaspa, and I myself was also saying that if they do decide to sell, this is only going to just further distribute the supply. And the whole idea of Kaspa was not to just hold on to it forever. And I said here, I myself have talked about them possibly selling as well in the past, and mentioned that their selling is basically their loss and only better distributes the supply. Kaspa does not need Marathon Mining to be successful. Marathon Mining just added to the list of reasons why Kaspa cannot be ignored. And then this user here says, if the whole idea is distribution, why is Kaspa mined by ASIC only? The logic is one, it's better for Kaspa to be mined literally by big capital only. Two, it's good if big capital dump because of distribution, doesn't lose the ones that buy spot only. I said, because being ASIC resistance is delaying the inevitable. ASICs are needed for Kaspa network to perform at peak capacity. ASICs got introduced much later to prevent from big ASIC farmers from acquiring a bulk of the supply. This is showing to be true so far. A big miner has reduced their amount to be insignificant to the entire supply. And Marathon Mining right now is only holding 35 million Kaspa coins instead of the 108 million Kaspa coins, which is the most that we know that they have reported of them holding. And truly, this is insignificant to the entire supply of Kaspa. They have never been really a big holder of Kaspa. And this other user over here says, I fail to see how selling Kaspa constitutes using Kaspa. If they had used it to directly purchase miners, electricity, then sure. But in this case, they simply dumped it likely on an exchange. There was no using Kaspa as it was intended happening anywhere here. And I say a sell equals use because it contributes to a network transaction, possibly multiple ones. We also don't know exactly what they sold into. I imagine some BTC plus expenses. Kaspa is freedom money. People can do what they feel is right for them. Time will be the judge on if it was smart. And this is always going to be the case. I'm never going to mock anyone for selling Kaspa because Kaspa is freedom money, and the whole idea of Kaspa is for it to be used. So if you're selling Kaspa to purchase goods and services, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're selling Kaspa to fund your lifestyle for any reason, then there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just foolish if you're selling Kaspa because of fear. I think Kaspa is still, in my opinion, a long-term bet for me and a long-term better investment for me. And people are so quickly to forget that people that sold Bitcoin to use it is the reason why Bitcoin got to where it is today. If anyone recalls the day in 2010 when someone bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, everyone talks about, oh my goodness, this Bitcoin would have been way more if he would have just held. But in fact, if he would have just held, we would never have had these headlines and the media reaching out to this guy to just bring even more attention to Bitcoin because he actually used Bitcoin. And this is the whole idea of cryptocurrency, and that is, it is supposed to be used. If it's not being used, then what are we doing here? At the end of the day, proof of work systems are going to die if they don't get used. So it's important that people are using Kaspa. But in my opinion, this sell of Kaspa that Marathon Mining did, I feel like it's going to turn into what Germany did recently, which is when they sold all of their Bitcoin at 50K, and this was worth about 50,000 BTC, $2 billion. They sold all at 50K. And then a few months later, if they would have just held, it would have been at a way bigger profit. But again, there's always reasons why people need to sell. And in my opinion, Marathon Mining is selling because at the end of the day, they are a mining company. This user says, it's strange that they wouldn't wait to sell into the smart contracts or 10 blocks per second hype after stacking for 2 quarters. Seem like a dumb move whether you love or hate Kaspa. Stinks of a cave to BTC max pressure. And I say they don't operate as an investor would when analyzing Kaspa longer term. They're a company trying to extract as much profit as possible to show off to their shareholders. And then this user says here, where did you pull that from? Just curious. I said, if the company is not profitable, then shareholders will continue to dump the stock. I don't see how it would be in their best interest to not try and please shareholders over making a possible long-term investment plan that may or may not turn well, especially considering many of their shareholders are maxis and they got a lot of pushback for the decision to mine Kaspa. So at the end of the day, hey, they're still holding some Kaspa. They didn't sell it all. So obviously they still seem some kind of long-term potential in it if they want to still hold Kaspa and not sell all of it. But even if they do decide to sell all of it, I really do think it's going to be a very poor decision. Kaspa has only about 10% of the entire supply left, meaning that Kaspa is going to become much more scarce for miners to acquire more Kaspa, especially because the reward is dropping every single month. And there is still no big, large ASIC farmer that is public and able to acquire a big bulk of the supply, which means that the idea of having a fast emission schedule was actually a smart choice. Again, as I have said in multiple videos, that the fast emission schedule was to prevent these larger entities from acquiring a bulk of the supply. And if anything, you would want these large entities to be selling Kaspa at these prices rather than later because they were able to acquire close to 1 billion Kaspa. I don't think you would want a large entity holding 1 billion Kaspa, especially an entity like Marathon Mining, where they have openly said that they could use Kaspa as a means to get more Bitcoin or as a means to pay for their expenses, which means that they obviously will have to use Kaspa as a way to fund things and sell it. So ultimately, is this bullish or bearish? I think at the end of the day, time will really tell us and will be the judge of whether Marathon Mining made a good decision here. Personally, I really don't think it matters because the amount of Kaspa they held has never been significant compared to the entire supply of Kaspa that is currently sitting well over 25.7 billion. So one more post that I wanted to share with you guys is Wolfie, which is one of the main people behind getting Kaspa listed on exchanges, did meet with the chief strategy officer of Marathon Digital Holdings. And I just wanted to point out this post here that I thought was kind of funny. Hove R over here said, but Wolfie, they sold. And Wolfie responded here, said, some. They refers to the publicly traded corporation. Nobody in the picture sold anything, meaning that the chief strategy officer of Marathon Digital Mining has not sold any Kaspa. You know, he's still holding Kaspa. And this is something else to point out is that people who work for Marathon Mining could, by all means, use the money that they make for working for the company to just buy Kaspa themselves, and the publicly traded company can dump all the Kaspa they want. But the people who are in this inside will really know what they hold as long as they do their research. And like what Jonathan has said in the past, one man's trash is another man's silver. Before we go, if you have not considered getting yourself a Tangent wallet yet, Tangent does have these Kaspa branded cards, and there's about 2073 wallets left. And if you use the code Kaspa Silver at the checkout, you can receive 10% off your order. Tangent Wallet is a great way to store your Kaspa offline and off exchanges so that you don't have to worry about an exchange having control over your funds. You can still self-custody your Kaspa and hold it on your own wallet. And I do appreciate any of you that use my code to acquire this because it does help support me. Thank you guys again for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new around here. And as always, don't be average, be different.